Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world, you are in a good place and perhaps the sun is shining. And today I'm very pleased to introduce my guest, super excited to introduce my guest, Emma Mills. And we'll be hearing from Emma in a moment. So welcome, Emma. For all our viewers that watch Shergroup on the Sofa, I'll just give a quick shout out to our #1 fan, who is Rossi Saunders, who's in Norfolk, England today. Hello, Ross. I hope you're in a good place. And I think Emma just wants to give you a little hello.
Yeah, hi, Rossi. Nice to meet you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it's super interesting.
Yes, okay. So, Emma, we met through Entrepreneur Circle. You came heavily recommended by the guru, Nigel Botterill, and his team. So, really super nice to meet you. I think Entrepreneur Circle's a fantastic organisation. And yeah, and I know you're a big follower of what Nigel is promoting in terms of how to build a business and create, a community around that. So really excited to talk to you today and hear your views on what makes a successful business. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I run a business called Mi PA, and we, as the name suggests, we provide PA support and we help business owners. And so back in the day, so I started my business in 2008, and prior to that, I was a personal assistant. And I was really lucky in that the kind of role I had was one of those where I was a PA to guy who's very entrepreneurial. I guess a bit like kind of a Nigel character, where there's all this different stuff happening. And when like in an exec PA role, you really get involved in all the different decisions. And I was lucky to, I guess, experience what he was doing in growing his business and running it. And so I obviously worked with someone very entrepreneurial. My dad has always had his own business as well, but I really loved the fact of, I did love being a PA, and I loved the impact that you see you can make on somebody's life. Because when you have a really good PA, like, things are just easier. That's how it should be. But I also knew that I wanted my own business. So and when I decided to, initially go self-employed and be like a freelance VA, it was back in 2008, and I feel like it didn't feel like a thing at the time, but it felt like it was just in the beginning of the word virtual assistant becoming more common. Because even back in 2008, I didn't have an iPhone, for sure. I do, like, it's quite drastic, the difference between technology now and then. Like, it was so different, my gosh. So it was just becoming more of a thing and starting to outsource support. So I left that role, became a freelance VA for about 5 years, did all the usual networking circuits of BNI and starting to build a network and understand what it was like to run and grow a business. And then in 2012, employed my first member of the team. So I always knew, I always knew I wanted a bigger business, but I'm sure, like loads of us, in the very beginning, you kind of like, but I don't know hardly anything about running a business or what I need to do. So it was very much in learning mode, which I guess never ends. But yeah, 2012, like always learning and reading and courses. So then, from 2012 onwards, just started to grow it. And it's been, and the past couple of years have been really like a key, I think, period of time for virtual businesses and virtual assistant businesses with everything that's happened.
Yes.
So yes, that's how I got into it originally.
Yeah, well, that's great. I started as a secretary, so I have that in
common. Oh, really?
I did, yes. Went to legal secretary at college and began. That's how I began my working life. So I understand what you were saying about being a personal assistant. They are vital if you're So what is the mission or aim of your business? What's the game plan?
Yeah, so our mission, and I guess I'm in quite a specific, I have quite a specific experience in that I understand the impact a PA can have on somebody's life, and I understand what it's like to be a business owner and try and wear every hat. Also have the mentality of it's quicker to do it myself, and like, because I know it's so hard as a business owner initially to free up time, to trust, to delegate, because you back yourself, don't you? And you're like, well, I can do that quicker, I'll do this, I'll do that. So the mission of the business is, obviously, we all know it can be a lonely place. It can be a roller coaster running a business. And the mission is for My PA to be that, let's call it business support service that can easily plug into UK business. Well, we have clients all over the country and all over the world, but UK businesses to provide that much needed support quickly and easily. So, you've got somebody switched on that can get started, that can support you, because I feel like one of the real wins for a lot of business owners is when you get somebody around you that can go, yeah, no problem, I'll sort that out, without having to, like go through every single step. Or you just want somebody, switched on to be able to go, right, okay, what is it you need? Right, I'll go away and figure it out, rather than having to figure it out and give somebody the step by step. So our mission for the business, our plan is to be the UK's market leader in PA support, call handling, like that real business support service that slots into people's businesses.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, you've been a PA yourself in an actual, I don't know what they are now. They're virtual PAs now. They're just PAs in the office before, not just, but you know what I mean. So virtually now, aren't we? And I work virtually all the time. I can't imagine having my PA. I can't imagine having my PA at home working with me, or anything like that. So, I mean, for business owners who haven't got a virtual assistant, I mean, why do you think they need this person? I know it, but you explain it to us.
Yeah. I guess, as I've alluded to, I know that a lot of business owners, you immediately, because you have to be very self-sufficient, it's just so easy to keep going, I will get that done. And there comes we all have the same amount of time in the day, and there comes a cap on most people's, whether that's to-do lists or time, that there is only so much you as an individual can achieve or get done.
Yes.
And every business owner should be looking to maximize the value of what they're doing in that time. So, a really straightforward but great example is, you could either be, as Nigel would say, writing maybe a sales campaign or doing a piece of work to get more business and more sales, or you could spend an hour uploading your receipts to Xero. And so you can spend your hours so differently. And I think when business owners really get to when they really get when it gets really tangible, like what their hourly rate is worth, as soon as you realize that, so whether you want to earn £50 an hour, £100 an hour, whatever that might be, what you actually choose to do in that time, while it might be something that makes you feel busy, productive, because you're getting it done, it's not taking you to where you want to be. So for me, for lots of business owners, delegation is one of the hardest things to get started with. But when you get started with it, it gets easier. I'm sure you've experienced that, as well as when you get somebody that you trust and is good, it starts to flow more, doesn't it? It's just so crucial that a business owner has somebody with them or alongside them that can then help them leverage their time, so they can spend it on the stuff that moves you forward, maybe the stuff they enjoy doing, and these people around you that can do the other stuff.
Yeah, good at it, very good at it. So these assistants who are just you get a good one and it's going to make your life a lot easier.
Totally.
I think the one thing that they can't do is make you a cup of tea. I used to make my bosses a lot of cups of tea when I was at the time.
So did I. So did I.
They can do other things. So do you think they're just the big businesses? I'm sitting as the business owner is out there, is this just not relevant to them? Or you think any business owner who wants to really scale their business can have a VA?
Yes, 100%, Claire. And to be fair, it's probably and I don't mean smaller business in terms of size, but I mean in staff number, it's probably the smaller size business that it should be looking at it first. So in with our client base, we I guess we have 20-30% of clients that are working on their own, a middle section that are maybe 10 staff plus and ambitious and looking to grow, but that business owner still everybody else has got their own role and they're still wearing lots of hats.
Yeah.
And then we've got like this portion where they're kind of big businesses. But with this portion where somebody's working, say, on their own, or there's one or two of them, for me, they are like, they have got the most potential here to like leverage time and potentially earn more revenue, earn more themselves, or even if it is just, you know, like we've worked with clients where when we've started working with them and they've been on their own, their reason has been, I just don't want to have to clear my inbox down on a Saturday night when I'm with my family, or I just don't want to in the evening have to, you know, I'm sorting out some quotes to send out, and I actually should be more like in you know, it can just be as simple as starting to, because, you know, I also a big believer that it should be enjoyable, because business is quite a journey, isn't it? And we should try and make it as enjoyable as possible. And there are some things there which become quicker wins, especially when you're a smaller business. And I know what it's like when you just open your laptop, don't you? Because it's what you do, and you're like, well, I'll just do it and I'll just finish it off. But actually getting time back and either using that with the people you love, or just getting stuff done that you hate. I mean, we work with so many clients and they'll get started because they're like, actually, the idea of replying to these emails or chasing invoices for payments or getting some quote, like they hate it. They just want to do what they're actually really good at. So for a lot of small businesses, and definitely a virtual assistant, because also you've got that flexibility of how much time you might need. You're not committing to somebody full time to have to keep busy. Where are they going to sit? Where are they going to work from? It can just be a real like changer for me in terms of whether they're spending time on tasks they don't like, or they just get to spend Saturdays watching their kids play football or whatever that might be.
Yes, getting back that time, or being able to do the things in the business that you love. You are entitled to that. You know, for business owners out there, you are entitled to enjoy running your own business. It's not a crime.
It's so true.
You know, I think many people are guilty, you know.
Definitely. I think that does get lost. So when you've been doing it for so long, it does get a bit lost that actually it is possible to spend it on stuff you love.
Yes, I have that conversation frequently with my husband. So I do understand that. I do understand that. So now I get it, what you say about having a virtual assistant. And I love the fact that you're saying that they don't need to be in the office. So for any of you out there who want to be a virtual assistant, you need to go and knock on Emma's door. So I'm sure she'd like to hear from you. But when you are, you know, when you decide as a business owner, you want a virtual assistant, what are you going to give them to do? How does the business owner tackle the problem of, you know, keeping a VA engaged and busy and giving the VA stuff that they can do? How do you tackle
that? A really great question, because I know that's like one of the stumbling blocks for lots of people that are like, okay, yeah, that sounds great, but what do I give them? So our first question, so just as if you were going to employ somebody full time, you wouldn't kind of throw everything at them at once. You'd have, you know, you'd bring that to them slowly but surely and layer up the tasks. So we always say, what are the initial 2 or 3 things that you either hate doing, takes a lot of your time. You know, people get stuck in inboxes all day long and never get out of them. But what are the initial 2 or 3?
Yeah, go on, carry on.
That is like probably our number one thing that a lot of people start with, because they just spend so much time in there. So we always ask, like, what are the initial 2 or 3 things that just immediately comes to mind that you would love to get rid of if you could wave a magic wand, and we look at that. And then the second part of that, if somebody is really kind of, I don't know where I spend my time or what I do. And I know this, I know like a lot of business owners are probably grown, and it's not a particularly sexy prescription for this, but certainly just tracking your time over 2 or 3 days can be really eye-opening for lots of people. So we have a productivity pad in Mi PA, which you can download from the website as well. And that's literally like the day split into hours with a place to track what you've done. Because, you know, people can, I remember like 10 years ago, me having this moment myself when I'd spent a Monday morning chasing invoices, and it'd been like 2 or 3 hours. And when you look back and you're like, gosh, actually, I've just spent all morning doing that. And it's not a particularly, it needs to, you know, and I hate the word low value, because these tasks need to get done. but I didn't need to do that on a Monday morning. So when somebody is stuck, certainly, and even if it's just on a notepad, or obviously there's all sorts of time tracking software, just looking at where you spend your time for 2 or 3 days. Because I do like Nigel for me is a really perfect example of this. Like he has his 90 minutes and he uses this slot to do really meaningful stuff. And he knows that at the end of the day, he did something like, oh yeah, I got that letter wrote, or I got that web page written. Whereas lots of people come to the end of the day and it's a bit like, well, I felt busy. But it was busy, but if you ask them actually what got done, you can't particularly name it because you're kind of like reactive and firefighting and answering the phone and like going from one thing to another. So for us, like when we start with a client, it's certainly looking at those top 2 or 3 things that would move the needle, get them out of their inbox, give them back an hour a day to go, right, well, I'm going to use this hour now to do X.
Good advice there for business owners. What are the 2 or 3 things that you'd like to get off your desk that and give to the and what results can people come to expect, do you think? Testimonials, what sort of things do you think they can expect from taking this course of action?
So I guess a couple of things. And number one, which can be for the business owner or with their team, is distraction. So specifically also with the call handling service that we have, where we're answering phone calls for businesses, definitely being less reactive and being distracted. So say for example, if you or your team are still answering the phone and you're constantly at the whim of whatever's just come in on the call that you've answered, and it might not even be something you really want to get into, or you should have taken the call, or whether it's been in your inbox and thinking, I'm just going to reply to this now. So that, like having those chunks of time to do meaningful stuff. So like distraction and being reactive is a really big one. It's probably one of the most effective things, I think, that once somebody realizes how much you're going from one notification to another, or it's an absolute, like, suck your day. So then starting to take away the things one by one that actually will, now I've got starting to get time back. So distraction and being reactive, I would say, is number one. And number two, we get, because a lot of our clients haven't had a PA before, and it's a bit like, oh, well, how will they get to know my business? And I think the second biggest thing that gets talked to us a lot is just that feeling of, it's a really great feeling that you've got somebody else around you that you can rely on to pass things off to. So there's probably a better word for that, but just that kind of confidence feeling that there is somebody there to go, oh, right, well, this needs booking for tomorrow, or can you just ring them in and rearrange that? Or there's somebody there to, I guess one of the old-fashioned words for it as well is like gatekeeper. There is somebody there to protect your time, and not, like, I'm sure it's very unusual that clients are just getting through to you straight away, or just, that there's stuff going on there that other people handle things. And
my emails as well. Email handling is a big thing for me. Just being able to have, responses to emails and having a process for that. So it does take a little bit of investment in time, I think, from the business owner. You can't expect this person. I did have one PA who came, this is many years ago, in the office, and she came for a day, and I asked her to start looking at the inbox. And by the end of the day, she said, I can't do this job, and left me. So I had to rethink how I delegated an inbox to somebody to look after. I've cracked that one. It's taken me a while, but I've cracked it.
Oh my gosh.
But if you're like me and you have a busy inbox, I'm sure you have a busy inbox. That is definitely where you can save time and energy and be with your family, not nose deep in your inbox. Now, let's just change tack a little bit. Now, we're customers of yours. This Mi PA, we met you because Nigel was singing your praises about telephone answering service and being gatekeepers to a business and looking after us. And we've used you very successfully for quite a while now. So thank you very much for that. So why is follow-up and call answering so important? I mean, obviously you're a telephone expert. So tell us, what do you say about that?
Yeah, definitely. So it is really important because clearly in most businesses, I guess it's the first point of contact impression that the outside world have with you. And I feel like a lot of businesses underestimate the importance of that, of whether it's just going to a voicemail or ringing out or somebody. I mean, worst is when somebody does answer it in the business and it's really not their job and they're not best skilled to do it. So you kind of get a just, hello, or yeah, like when that happens as well.
Owners, don't make sure your receptionist or whoever answers the phone knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Use Emma's business.
Yeah. I feel like because even though the call's getting answered, it's not getting answered by the right person. So that in terms of one, the first impression, but two, I mean, clearly we either spend money on marketing or put some efforts into marketing, whether that's time or money, and people that are ringing, it is just, as Nigel would say, a leaky bucket. It is a lost opportunity if that call isn't answered and isn't handled really well, or isn't like escalated in a good way to go, okay, you're ringing about X, that's going to go through to this person, or transferred, or the message sent, or a call booked in, whatever it might be. So yeah, the phone not being answered, and I know there are lots of other ways that people get in touch with businesses now, but still predominantly it is number one, the way in which people call, and even when they call. So we've got lots of business owners that have come to us because they actually, their service is decisions made or talked about in the evening, and so they were having the phone ringing in the evening, but nobody was answering it. So it's like and so having that solution in place is really important for capturing inquiries and leads, and then follow up on the other is a third service that we do a lot for customers, which is basically having money sat in a list. So I know, and I've got so many friends who are who love working on new marketing techniques, and they're obsessed with getting new leads. But I feel like a lot of businesses forget about what they already have sat in a list. Do you know, like people that have expressed an interest or inquired before? And I learned that firsthand when Helena, who works with, she's like my main sales, she's like runs our sales team. And obviously back in the day when I first started, it was just me doing my sales. And I know from experience that I was only really giving the nurture to the newest ones that came in. And then I'd get this growing list of leads that I didn't follow up because I didn't have time. And then when we dedicated the time, that the people that had to ring them up, have nice conversations, and make friends and help people, as they say. For me, there is so much money sat in most businesses' lists of people that have inquired before, and they just don't really give it the nurture that they need.
Is what you're saying, that My PA will actually call those leads?
Yes, follow up. Yeah.
And what does that call look? I mean, that's a great service for business owner. I totally agree with you that money is sitting in a list in a database on an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, and you just haven't got the time to get to people. So what do? You ring them up, and you, on behalf of the business owner, and what do you set a meeting up, or what does that look like?
Yes, exactly that. So clearly the people in the business, or the business owner, or whoever that is in the business, is best to actually sell to make the sale. But where we have a lot of success is getting that, like, let's call it a discovery call or next step call booked in. So go, okay, if you've got some questions, no problem, I can book you in a time with Claire. And maybe it's like something simple using a Calendly or something we have set up to go, no problem, she's got a slot on Friday, and fill in the calendar with those kind of appointments.
That's a bit of a game changer, and you've got a team that do that, obviously, for your customers. I want to talk to you more about that outside of this meeting. That's a great service. So yes, I mean, I, as a business owner, in building Shergroup, I have definitely got, as the Americans say this, but I know Nigel says it as well, stuck in the weeds. For those of you that don't understand that saying, I'm going to ask Emma just to. So, what is stuck in the weeds? What does that mean?
Yeah, I guess the best explanation of it is when business owners are stuck. So let's just make it to make it more relatable, like the low value tasks. So the things that for me, getting stuck in the weeds is doing all the tasks that actually somebody else could do for you on a lower hourly rate than you doing it yourself. And it's being stuck in those like repeatable tasks that need to happen, but they don't push I guess the simplest explanation is you get stuck in the tasks that don't push the business forwards. So it's the stuff that's admin related. It's like forwarding invoices to Dext, or it's going back and forth to arrange a meeting over email. But it's not the things of like, oh, how am I going to get 10 customers if that's what I need next month, or how am I going to get a new partnership, or how am I going to get the right people and seats in the business. It's not like those bigger questions. You get stuck low down in just things that tick over.
Yes. My weeds has definitely been inbox and sorting my inbox, and then putting the documents somewhere. Just putting your documents in folders and files, and saving them, because that can take ages, and a system that you can actually then find the document afterwards. That's always helpful.
It's so true. It's never just a reply to the email. It's all the little nitty-gritty things that you then end up doing after it. Yeah.
Exactly right. So your VAs can handle that kind of task as well.
Yes.
So if you're sitting
very much so.
Then, there's help is here. Help's here.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to yourself if you were starting out in business? If you had your time over and you were starting out in business
again? Definitely number one bit of advice is not to be so hard on myself. And the one thing that I have learned as not even just like that your business grows in size, but as time passes and you speak to other business owners and you realize that there is no manual, and actually we are all, and even the people that you think are super successful and way further on in you, they're still like solving the same problems and they're still figuring their way through. I think number one piece of advice I would give myself in the beginning is that I would not be so hard on myself on this journey, because you figure out everybody else is learning. And number two, even though this is completely like you would think that I would have done this first, would be that I would have leveraged my time way quicker than I did originally. Because what I ended up doing was, as I started to grow my PA, I had PAs who were helping clients, but I wasn't getting this help myself. So that was like back, exactly. So that was like back in 2014. I was like, wow, actually, this is ridiculous. I'm now getting really, really overworked. And when I did that, and when I finally started to get some help internally, and I then got a PA. From like 2014 to 2017, our business like had such a change, because I was then not delivering client work, not stuck in my inbox. It like had a really seismic effect on, as soon as I was like, oh, I'm completely missing the point here. I need help too.
Yes, I think I can totally relate to that. So, don't beat yourself up. I think Emma's right. There's no manual, is there, for building a business?
No, not at all.
What everybody says. I mean, even people like Branson, have had their setbacks, and he's colossal. So,
yeah.
All right. So now, again, I want to ask you this question, because I do ask it from time to time. I mean, favorite business books. What do you recommend to our listeners?
Yes, great question, and I do love a business book. So, one of them. So the first book I ever read, which I'm sure gets mentioned so many times, is the E-Myth. And that, like, I read that as probably the first one I did ever read back in 2008. And if anybody doesn't know, it is super worth a read. It's ultimately like a parable of a person with a pie shop. And the whole prefix of it is how you can leverage yourself out of the business by systems and process and showing other people the way to do things. So E-Myth, it is an oldie, but it's definitely a goodie for somebody that hasn't read it. I would highly recommend. And then my two other books that I always turn to. So one for me is a book just really charting what it's really like to own a business. And even if somebody's super successful, you still see how hard it is, which is Shoe Dog. I don't know if you've read it, Claire. The story of Nike, basically. And it is just it's like on the edge of your seat. Like that, basically, the guy is just nearly bankrupt for most of Nike's life until the very, very end. He's just being challenged the whole way. It's a really inspirational, exciting story. I think they've actually just made it into a film with Matt Damon and stuff that's coming out.
Oh, okay. We'll have to put those books in the show notes. Got any more?
Definitely. Well, the third one, which I know, I hadn't heard of it. So there's a guy called Keith Cunningham, and he's often a speaker with Tony Robbins about finances and business and accounts. And he has a few books, but the one that I recommend is called The Road Less Stupid. And it is really phenomenal. And it's a business book that looks at things in a completely different way than I've ever read about before. And he has this really great way of every chapter. It's called On a Bumper Sticker, and it's a really Americanized kind of book, but he summarizes the chapter. And I can honestly say when I read this book, I can't keep reading it because I stop a chapter and I'm like, gosh, he said so much there. I need to actually go away and think about that and like work on it. You can't just keep motoring through it. So The Road Less Stupid, it's kind of like Tales from the Boardroom, and it covers all sorts of topics of like finding A players, how to manage them, marketing. I love it. So The Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham, I would really recommend.
We'll put the links to those 3 books in the show notes for people.
Yeah, they are good ones.
Thank you. Now, again, the reason I wanted to have this interview with you today was that you send out a great newsletter. I don't know if you realise that. I don't know if anyone's given you the feedback. Well, I love your newsletters because they're very they're very honest, like they're very genuinely you. And talking to you today, I can see, you write as you speak. Which I think that's for anyone that wants to be a VA. Don't try and be posh with your writing. Just write as you speak. Because it's a very easy skill actually. So you write this content in every week and you put that out to your community. I mean, why do you? I know why it's important. I know it's why it's important for Shergroup. Why is it important for you?
So why is it important? So I started that in 2017, and to be completely honest, it is a Nigelism, who I know we've mentioned a million times in here, but I got the initial, because he had MBTV back in the day, which was a weekly little like video thing that you put out. So I initially got the idea from that, and I guess there's a couple of reasons why I do it. And one of the biggest things I would say for anybody that's about to, or wants to do more content is consistency has been number one. So I know there'll be loads of people out there who think, well, I can't be on video, or I can't write, or I can't do this. There are definitely weeks where I've done them and I think, oh, that's not my best. Or like I'm not overly, this is not my best work, but it still goes out, and it's the consistency that wins over everything else. Because I realized very quickly on that obviously not everybody's reading every single email or watching every single video, but the fact that I'm just there, and even if I get deleted straight away, the fact that Emma Mills has just emailed and I'm front of mind all of the time. So my TV and the emails that go with it are ultimately about being front of mind and building that relationship. So what you've just said, obviously I'm really pleased and flattered about that. It feels like you're listening to me or speaking, or like when I'm writing, it feels like I'm talking to you. So it's been one way for us to build relationship with lots of people without necessarily phoning and speaking to lots of people. And people do, I have it all the time now. People say, I've been watching a few of your videos, so I feel like I know you, or how's Ralph, because my little dog features in it quite a lot. So it's that like relationship building part. And the second bit that has just been really helpful for us is, so the premise of my emails and the videos is to give value. So it might feature on different things. So it's never about selling, it's never salesy, it's just things that we're either using that's helped us, a bit of software, a book, something that we've done internally, a chat that I've had with a client that might resonate with people. So the focus of it is completely value. And doing that consistently every week has helped us make more relationships and ultimately make more sales because of it. Because it's made that whole process of feeling like you have a relationship with my PA or with Emma much easier. And the other thing I just want to get across, like, it's not an overly elaborate thing that we do. It's not like, wow, but if somebody's thinking, well, I don't have loads of time to do that, or I don't have loads of money to spend on that, we don't spend loads of time and loads of money on it either. It's just quite a rhythm of a quick 5-minute video and sending out an email to our list.
Yeah, oh, I think it's tremendous, and I think the content is very authentic, as people say these days. But it is you, and talking to you today, it just comes across. So
thanks,
keep
Claire.
sending it because I enjoy reading it. One fan at least. I'm sure you've got. So, well, thank you very much, Emma. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, and for guesting on our little show. Please visit Emma's website at my-pa.co.uk, and you can also follow her on her Mi PA Ltd Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. Oh, I haven't followed you on Twitter. Follow you on Twitter, and connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm going to connect away now. And subscribe to her YouTube channel because it's hard to get subscribed on YouTube.
It is, yeah. So my YouTube channel is just Emma Mills on YouTube, so easy to find.
Brilliant. So there's lots of ways to connect with Emma. Especially, I think that's important if you're thinking about getting a VA and you just want to immerse yourself in what Emma has put out there. Not just this interview, but there's lots of content, I'm sure, the coaching business owners to make these changes, and just you can go and look at it in your own time, when you've got a few spare minutes, which you'll have more of when you get your VA.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Emma, and to everybody else, thanks for staying with us on this episode of Shergroup on the Sofa. Please visit our website at shergroup.com for more updates on our business solutions. Like Emma, we're on Facebook, Insta, Twitter, TikTok now, Pinterest, YouTube, anywhere where we can build our traffic. So I'm sure if you get a VA, they'll be able to help you do that. So I'll put all the links for Emma and in the show notes along with the books. And Emma, just absolute pleasure to talk to you today, and thank you so much for this conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Claire. It's been lovely, really great to be on.
Thank you.